Hi, welcome to Bad Music Taste and Other Ways to Ruin Your Life. My name is Dominic.
And my name is Sam. Dominic has a record this week.
This week's record is Start Today by the Gorilla Biscuits. This record was first released in 1989 and it was repressed in 2014. The copy I have here is a repress on blue vinyl. Anyways, today our guest is Adam Blake from H2O. How's it going, Adam?
It's going wonderfully. Thank you so much. How are you guys doing?
Great. So H2O has always been mostly a positive band. How have you guys been able to maintain a PMA within the last few months?
Well, the truth be told is that PMA takes work, right? Nobody, to my knowledge, is positive 100% of the time. It ebbs and it flows. It's about taking a look at the world and then focusing on the things that you can control and learning to let go of the things that you can't. Don't let the things you can't drag you down, right? And unfortunately, in the world as it is right now, there's a lot that we can't control. So, playing music is kind of off the table for us. And so we focus on other things. We focus on family. We focus on our lives at home. We focus on our other jobs. We focus on chatting to awesome kids on podcasts. Like we try and do other things to keep ourselves occupied. So we were able to keep our heads up. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I actually read an article the other day, and it was talking about how once everybody is supposed to hit the 6-month period in like a lockdown session, it's supposed to be like the bottom of creativity for people. So like everybody just goes up from there. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, I feel like everything's gonna get better, and it's gonna get better quick. Once it starts, it's just gonna fly back up. I can't wait to get out and play music again. Like it's been a while. It's been a while.
Yeah. Every time we say like the first show back is going to be the weirdest thing ever, like
it's going to be
circle pits are going to start, but people don't think that circle pits should start.
Yeah, it's going to be awkward and strange for the first few shows, but I think people have a desire to get back to normal, and I think that's going to start taking people back towards going to shows and dancing and throwing themselves off stage and a little bit closer contact when we can do it in a way that's safe.
Yeah, but like as of right now, there's just like too much of a desire. Like
it's turned into like sort of frustration, right? Like people are like, for better or worse, over it,
Yeah.
And I like to think everyone knows it's for a good reason, but it doesn't make it any more fun. So.
Yeah. But I mean, there's different levels of being over it. There's like just laying in bed with
of course,
like a bored face, and then there's walking through Target with "We're not going to take it."
Yeah, of course, yeah. There's like the thing is with the walking through Target without mask on is you're not taking into account other people's feelings.
Yeah,
exactly.
And the way you may not feel this is that serious, but other people do. And I'm sorry, your discomfort of wearing a mask is outweighed by someone's fear for their health and life. You know what I mean? So there's definitely levels to it for sure.
Yeah, because when you wear a mask, yes, you're helping yourself, but you're also helping those around you.
Exactly. It's just the right thing to do if you care about other people.
Yeah.
Is to wear a mask, even if you're someone who doesn't, if you're someone who's in really good health and is not that worried about catching COVID yourself, it doesn't matter. For both the health of others and the comfort of others. So other people can at least not be afraid to go to places because you won't wear a mask. It's so important to take care of each other now more than ever and look out for each other. So yeah, wear a mask, people.
Yeah, because like you yourself might be the healthiest around, but that person over there might have an underlying health condition, or that person might be at a higher risk.
Or they might be afraid. They may be, but they may just be afraid, or they may be related to someone, and you have to respect that. There's a right thing to do here, and the right thing to do is if you're going to be in a place where you're going to be close to people, if you're walking in the field and there's no one around, you're probably okay not to wear a mask. But like when you start to get to places where you can't control that, and you're going to be up close, you have to do the right thing by others.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like going to a grocery store. Like obviously you're going to wear one.
Gotta wear a mask.
Yeah.
Wear a mask.
But I mean, like going for a walk or something. I mean,
Yeah, like if
maybe bring one with you. But
yeah, yeah, you should always have one with you. But I'm saying if there's nobody around, right? If you can see every direction, you're by yourself, you're okay. You're probably okay.
yeah,
But if there's any chance of you coming into close contact with someone, it's just the right thing to do, right? To help people, help kind of keep everybody feeling like they're valued, that their opinion is.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what's up, kids? What's this podcast all about? Give me the cliff notes.
I don't. We just try to reach out to our favorite musicians, and it's a lot of fun being able to.
So you guys are like full-on hardcore kids, huh? So
Dominic more
let me ask you, do you listen to lots of different kinds of music?
Yeah, for them, sort of. I mean, like a little bit of jazz, like Beastie Boys, hip hop, and then
Nice. This is a good foundational musical diet. Like you can't just listen to one thing, and the more open your ears are, the more you start to understand that all music is sort of good. Music is all sort of the same in a way, and bad music is not. Like it all comes from the heart. It's all authentic. It's all honest. And punk rock is a great way to understand that because it's so in your face.
Yeah.
Right. See, I didn't even really know about punk rock until I met Dominic, and then he kind of just like opened that door. So I was like more of like an alternative pop punk person. So I've like gotten like a taste of everything since we started the podcast.
That's awesome. What like? Go ahead, guys. Sorry.
Oh, for like 3 years, the only bands that like existed to me were Black Sabbath and the Descendants, and we went to New Jersey to punk rock bowling to see the Descendants play, and H2O was there, and that just kind of like was like, okay, there's more than the Descendants and Black Sabbath. And then I think it was the year after H2O played Doing It for Dave, and there were all those hardcore bands there. Like I remember meeting Jimmy G there, and
that was a great day.
Yeah, he like picked me up.
I think Dave would have been very, very, very happy with that.
Yeah, Jimmy like picked me up and like ran over to the merch table and was like, "Oh, nothing fits. Does your mom want a t-shirt?"
Yeah, Jimmy's changed a lot of people's lives.
Yeah, sure. And then very, very recently we got to talk to him, and it's just weird being like going from the kid at the show, like being picked up, being able.
Let me ask you guys a question. Would you go back to the very first show you could?
We've actually we've talked to each other about this before, and it's been like, well, would you go if it was a drive-in show? Would you go if you had to wear masks? You know what I mean? Yeah. And honestly, I don't know. Like, I genuinely don't know if I could answer that, because if it was limited people, we wore masks, like it would be okay, but I'd still be scared.
Yeah.
See, I'm so torn, because the kind of music we play, so there's some venues that will allow you to have 25% capacity, right?
Yeah.
And I guess if you're like a singer-songwriter or something where everyone's kind of just wants to stand and listen to the music in their own space, I think like
jazz, I think that would be like the first thing to be played again.
But for hardcore and punk rock, there's like a physical closeness that the live show needs to be what it's supposed to be. You know, between the band and the audience and body on body and people bumping into each other and diving. And it's hard to imagine playing a hardcore show where that can't happen. Yeah. And it's almost hard to imagine playing a hardcore show where that wouldn't end up happening. And then it becomes almost a responsibility of the band to be like, well, maybe we should wait, even if we could do, you know, a smaller show until everybody can come back and have that real full experience of the thing.
Yeah.
In a safe way.
Yeah.
So it's tricky. It's really hard to know what the right thing to do is here, because obviously we play.
Yeah.
Play, but there's still so many factors you got to think about.
Yeah, because then you pose the argument of people being like, oh, well, I don't want to pay that much if I'm not going to get the full show.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
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 You got. That's the thing, right? Like there's so many like gray areas here, and
Yes.
there's no one clear answer to other than just wait and see. And at some point, some bands are going to stop waiting and see and start playing shows, and I think then we're going to figure out what's going to work and what isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, maybe like public parks or something, like with the big pavilions, like every other like parking spot a car goes, and everybody has like if you want to get out of your car, you can like you have to stay on the left. Like that was my idea. There's gonna be like the one douchebag who gets out of the right of his car, and then.
But that guy's always been at the shows. That guy's been at every
exactly.
show. So
he followed the band for a whole tour.
Yeah, he's in every town in every country in the world.
And then just somehow got the VIP parking.
Yeah, just happens to know somebody, and he's been around forever, and he's just going to do it his way no matter what everyone else does.
Yeah.
But you guys are the young generation. You guys are the ones setting the rules now.
Yeah.
But on the topic of shows, H2O just planned a European tour for next year.
So that is like a cross your fingers thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as of right now, like from what you know right now, are there going to be COVID restrictions implemented?
We have no idea, to be honest with you. But the thing with booking shows is it's not like you can suddenly, when they say go, like you can all have shows again, there's still going to be a few months it takes to kind of bands to get themselves together and to you have to plan, especially things like European tours, quite far in advance. So really what we're doing is we're hoping there'll be some kind of way to make it work. But honestly, like obviously it's completely out of our hands. I mean, the biggest control we have is saying, yes, we want to do it if we can. But yeah, so we posted the dates. I hope they happen, but who knows? I mean, that's a year from now. Like, I feel like if we're not back to some kind of normal a year from now,
Scary.
we're really in the stuff. I'm trying not to swear, kids. I'm doing my best. We're really in the stuff.
No, you're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've thought about it before, and I'm like, okay, but in reality, if anybody's going to have shows again, it's probably going to be Europe first, because looking at the numbers, the U.S. is above them now. So it's like... Yeah.
Europe, I mean, already is having shows. Frank Turner is playing shows. But I just feel like it would be weird to go to a show and, like, have to be 6 feet apart and, like, have to wear a mask. Like, if you're going to a show, I feel like it's got to be, like, when you can actually go.
Yeah, I agree. Like, there's one of the things about punk rock and hardcore is there's a sense of real community and connection, and that's one of the hardest things about COVID for a lot of people is you can't even see somebody's face. You know what I mean? Like, and if you do happen to be say someone comes to your door, you're like, oh my God, who is that? Do they have a mask on? There's all this like concern. And it's definitely creating like this sort of emotional disconnect from each other as a people. And punk and hardcore is all about the opposite of that. It's all about people coming together. It's all about people contributing and being a part of it. And until that happens, the show, even if a band sets foot on stage, it's not going to be a hardcore show. You know what I mean? Unless you can have all that other stuff going on, unless you can have people dancing and meeting each other and friends hanging out with friends, and I think I think wearing masks is okay. It's a great idea, but I still think it takes away from that experience. You know what I mean? I think it's almost going to have to be like, we're going to have to be way on the other side of this thing before we get all the way back to what this is supposed to be, which is like a communal experience of band and the audience, and everybody's one and sharing this wonderful, fun, crazy thing together.
Yeah, I mean, it would just be like, can you hear me? I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, the sound box that I used like wasn't lighting up or anything, but it would just be like artificial to yell my friends look out for me like family and not be able to see the person right next to you.
Oh, my friend all the way over there, you know, the mascot looks out for me like family. It's strange. Like, yeah, it's supposed to be body on body piles of people, you know?
Yeah.
And like you said, like if it's jazz, very different animal, very different experience. You know, you can enjoy jazz from the comfort of a seat with someone 6 feet away from you, but not what we do.
Yeah, I mean, I remember one of the last shows I saw was a jazz show, and everybody, like, just the tables were 6 feet apart, like, just normally.
Yeah, it's that's it for the time being, man. That's what we're dealing with. Just gotta wait it out. But the one thing is, like, it has to come to an end, right? Like, we have to get back to normal. You know, whether it's in time for August in Europe next year, or if we have to wait a little bit longer. At some point, we're all going to get back to normal, and shows will be going on, and all this greatness will come back. So that's going back to your first question, kind of how you keep the PMA, right? You just have to trust and believe that it's going to come back around, and we're gonna be back where we want to be.
Yeah.
All right. So, just out of curiosity, how were you introduced to New York hardcore, having grown up in England?
All right, so I was a metalhead, right? So heavy metal was my thing. Like, I got into heavy metal through Dungeons and Dragons and friends of mine who played Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know if you know what that game is, but
yes.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. So, and then one day, one of my friends bought me, or actually showed up at my friend's house with the Gorilla Biscuits record that you showed at the start of this podcast.
Oh, wow.
And he put it on, and I just remember it had like the energy and that kind of enthusiastic vibe that the metal I liked had, but it was so much more uplifting and positive.
Yeah.
And it hit me. Like, the minute I heard it, I was like, play that again. And then obviously, like, back then there was no internet. So what you would do is you would get the record and you would look at the thanks list for like the next band you should check out. And you'd start to like kind of go to the record store. You'd be like, oh, you know, Gorilla Biscuits thanks Youth of Today. So I'll buy the Youth of Today record. And you just kind of found it out like that. And you know, then a band would come to town and you'd go see that band, and then you'd meet a bunch of other people that were into this music too, and you'd become friends. And you know, like in England, we had our own scene. Like, we had our own English hardcore bands and you know, and that kind of thing. And then, but New York was always the spot. That was always like the place of hardcore for us. And then I met somebody in London, where I was living, who was in the band Shelter, which was my favorite band at the time. And I was at music school studying electric bass, and he went back to New York City and decided he didn't want to be in Shelter anymore. And he was the bass player. And he's like, hey, I know this guy in London who loves the band. He's kind of cool, kind of nice and cool. Let's fly him out and give him a shot. So I flew out to New York City. I tried out. I got the gig, and that was my introduction to New York hardcore. And I was in that band from 94 to 96, and then I joined H2O. And H2O is when I really started meeting everybody. That's when I met Jimmy for the first time, and John Joseph and the AF guys and all that. That was when it kind of New York hardcore became like this thing I saw in magazines and on record covers, to something I felt like I was really connected to. So,
yeah. Like, I'm gonna make it there. I'm gonna get it.
Right.
That was the thing. Like, that was what I wanted to be. Like, I wanted to be in a hardcore band. Like I wanted to play CBGBs, and I wanted to tour in a van and play these random towns and have all those experiences. And I was really blessed to be able to do it. So, you know, New York hardcore has given me more than I could ever repay.
Yeah. Like you said, like looking through the notes, now we go to Spotify and look through people also listen to. Or like,
Same thing, right? Like, there's something about being there's a detective side to you that it takes to find out like the artist. And for me, it's like, you know, I went to music school for a while. So I went to school for a year. So you learn, like, you start tracing it back. Okay, there's this band. who did they listen to? Who did
Yeah.
they listen to? And it's funny because earlier you mentioned Black Sabbath and the Descendants, and those are two of those bands that all your favorite bands listen to. You know what I mean? Like, so it's interesting how like there's these certain bands where it all just kind of everybody started with. You know, your Bad Brains is one that, you know, like every hardcore band learned stuff from Bad Brains. Everyone learned from Sabbath. Everyone learned from the Descendants. You know, everyone learned from the Beatles, even in a hardcore band. Everyone, you know, like understood like melody and stuff like that. So it's one of the wonderful things, because the great thing is it doesn't matter if a record was made in 1965. When you listen to it for the first time, it's a new record.
Yeah.
It's new music. It's a new experience for you. You're listening to this stuff that this guy did then, but it doesn't matter. You're sharing that moment. And that's powerful. That's powerful. That's one of the greatest things about music. Do either of you play a musical instrument?
I play a few. I play a little bit of guitar, the bass, and the drums.
Yeah, and then I play the violin, so
Great. Love it.
kind of an oddball.
Yeah. So one of the great things about music as well is you can put on a record and you can play along with your heroes.
Yeah.
And you get a little taste of what it felt like to be them when they did that. When you do that, it's the coolest thing ever.
I remember I saw the Descendants, and I was like watching Bill Stevenson and trying to do what he did, and like trying to move my wrist, like just how he did that.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is so many people have done that in the past who went on to join and form bands because of that experience.
Yeah.
Like I'm like that with bass. Like if you put on a record, I can't help it. I start doing this.
Yeah.
It just happens. Like it's not like I mean it to. It's just like I'm there's a sound. That sound speaks to me, and I want to make that sound myself. And it's so wonderful.
Yeah.
So wonderful.
And then I remember when I saw H2O with the Descendants, and Toby, he's like, the Descendants are my favorite band, and I like looked at my parents. I was like, really?
Yep.
They're like, but the Descendants are my band, or my favorite band, Toby.
Right? I know, but it's like that's what's great about bands like the Descendants. They're like people in the '90s favorite band, the early 2000s. You know what I mean? It's once again, music is universal. It's timeless. You can get into it at any point. And so, and you may run into people sometimes, and I don't like these people, but they're out there, who'll try and act that because you didn't listen to this band in 1985, you're not as cool as they.
Yeah.
I'm going to swear, that's utter horseshit. That's not right. Like you can discover it when you discover it on your time, and you're still having that learning. You're still getting that goodness no matter when you find it. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Like I was at that last Black Flag show. You're like, well, Black Flag still plays, yeah, but it's with Mike Vallely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That I like that. Yeah, that's what they do, right? And like, it's so pointless. Like you know, like I'm amazed that you guys have this podcast and are into this music. I think that's incredible. It makes me feel like music is still relevant. You know, like because you know, like when you're a band, like you want your music to touch new people. That's kind of what keeps you alive and what keeps you enthusiastic, makes you not want to suck, you know? So it's you know, it's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, if it were like in Target commercials and like mainstream, I don't think it would mean as much.
It wouldn't.
Still, like,
Right.
It wouldn't. Not that there's anything wrong with mainstream music, but it's almost like fast food. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, like hardcore's like you've got that one spot that serves the best pizza. Not really everyone knows about it, but it's your spot, and you know the food is the best there, and you go there and your friends go there, and that's your space.
That's
maybe you tell like a couple of people, but it's like, no, you wouldn't like this food.
Careful who you tell. You got to be careful who you tell, because they might ruin the pizza shop. You got to make sure it's like the right kind of people who are going to behave and respect all the other people that are there. So
yeah.
I've like had friends where I'm like, oh, you got to check out this band, and then they'll like be wearing their T-shirt the next day. I'm like, oh, cool. What song did you like? I didn't listen to any songs.
Oh gosh,
Like-
I mean, the amount of people that you see, you know, wearing Ramon shirts, you know, or
Yeah.
like Kardashian wearing a Slayer shirt, and I'm like, I'm not trying to like prejudge you, but I doubt you probably don't listen to that band that much.
Right.
You know?
Like,
Yeah.
me and Dominic have talked about this so many times. We're like, we're not like gatekeeping people,
Yeah.
but like my mom played the Ramones all the time. She was the biggest Ramones fan when she was like younger. So obviously I listen to them and I know them, and I see all these people at school wearing their shirts, and I'm like, oh, what's on your playlist? And they're like, Ariana Grande, and I'm like, that's cool, but
And they're the
better be
same
Ramones
people
fan
that
too.
buy
Right.
Misfits t-shirts because they have a cool logo.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard, right? Because you don't want to make people, you don't want to like you said, gatekeep people.
Yeah.
It's almost like you want to kind of educate people. Hey, you know that's a band. How about you listen
Exactly.
to this song
And
see if you like it?
Right.
now the term elitist is thrown around so loosely.
Yeah.
Like,
It's-
I've been called an elitist so many times just because I say I don't like a band, and I've been said that I gatekeep because I ask what people's favorite songs are when I'm just genuinely curious.
No, right?
Exactly.
It's a fair question. You want to know who you're talking to. You
Yeah.
know, like-
Right, and exactly. It makes it
If you're
scarier to
talking-
approach people.
Yeah. I mean, if you're talking to a Motorhead fan and they ask, or you ask what their favorite song is and they say Ace of Spades, it's
yeah.
gonna
don't
be a
need-
little bit questionable, but you don't like.
You don't need to know like the obscure B-side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like from,
Exactly.
that they released on like a limited edition flexi disc in Kerrang magazine in 1979. You know what I mean? You just got to know, like, you just got to appreciate the band, know who they are, and
Exactly.
Yeah.
know what it is you're representing. Because, I mean, thankfully, I don't believe it's like this that much anymore. But back in the day, people would get beat up for wearing band shirts. You know,
No,
it was like
exactly.
people were really like offended by people that liked heavy metal and people that are like punk rock, you know, and so there's, especially in the older crowd, there's a little bit more of a desire to protect it because it wasn't always safe to dress like that or wear
Exactly.
those shirts. So, you know, you're not being elitist. You just
Yeah.
want to know who the person is, like what they're about, like, you know.
Exactly.
If
I-
someone's wearing a Ramones shirt and they don't know any Ramones songs, can you really trust them? You know, are they really
Right.
like, who they're pretending to be? Like,
Exactly.
these are fair assessments.
I remember I watched an interview with Mike Vallely. He was like, first day of like 8th grade, last year I can do whatever I want. He was like, I spiked my hair. And when you had spiked hair in New Jersey in the 80s, it was like you were wearing a target on what to hit.
Totally. Yep. I caught it when I was a kid for being a metalhead. I know the other guys, the other guys in H2O caught it for being punkers when they were kids. Like, it used to be a thing. Like, it really did.
Right.
Like, because we were so, anyone that was into those kind of music was an outcast. You know, people just assumed you were a drug addict, that you were like a ne'er-do-well or a criminal, cross the street to avoid you. And, you know, like some of the nicest people in the world are punk rock and hardcore people.
Exactly.
They don't look it necessarily, but they are.
Yeah, and doing the podcast has helped us realize that because there's all
Yeah.
these nice people who just want to
Yeah.
help us.
The minute I heard that you guys were two 13-year-olds doing a podcast, I was like, I'm in. Sign me up. I'm into this. This is going to be awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my mom is just as big of an H2O fan, if not a bigger H2O fan. And we were sitting on like my porch stoop with my phone next to me, and I got the notification. I was like, Adam Blake wants to do it, and she was like,
Oh,
"Oh,
I'm gonna get the rest of my band to do this too.
that would be awesome." We've reached out to, I think, Toby and Rusty, and neither of them got back to us.
Well, let me reach out to them and see if I can make some stuff happen.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
I know Toby's got a lot on his plate with
Yeah,
Yeah.
he has his own podcast.
Yeah, he's got his own podcast,
Right.
which is really well. But I'll mention it. I mean, if you hit him up on Instagram, he probably gets hundreds of DMs. You know, so pretty
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we tried that first, and then Doug Carrion from Field Day,
Yeah.
he gave us his email, and we sent him an email. So we're in his spam folder somewhere.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And then same thing with Rusty. Yeah.
Well, Rusty just moved so Rusty was living in Los Angeles. Now he's in South Carolina. So he's been kind of.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Sort of.
And Doug was like, maybe wait a couple of days. He just moved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
Like,
been super busy with all that stuff.
yeah, like in the
When
process.
in doubt, reach out to the bass player or drummer. When in doubt, hit up the bass player or drummer. We're always down to chat.
All right.
Yeah, we're easy to get in touch with. Doug Carry on, for example, bass player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was just like scrolling through my Facebook list, and I was like, hey, let's reach out to Doug Carrion. This dude seems super cool. And we've developed just like such a friendship with him now. It's
kind of
awesome.
crazy.
Like we stayed in touch with him afterwards, and it's
He's
best.
awesome. He's awesome.
Yeah.
He's awesome. A lot of energy.
Yes.
A lot of energy. That
Every person says that. Like we talked to Stefan Edgerton from the Descendants. It's like, so you guys talked to Doug? He's an energetic dude.
Yeah.
That's the word. That's the word. That's the word. Love it.
And then we sent him a bag of coffee.
Yeah,
So,
he loves coffee.
yeah, I mean, you can't go be in.
No, you can't. You did it right. You did it right.
So, it's been over 5 years since we saw some new, or I guess there was a new H2O record last year.
Like
A new album.
Yeah. So about that. We tend to make records on our own schedule, which seems to be quite slow. And we did the first kind of half of our career, if you want to call it that. We very much played by the traditional music rules, which is like you'd make a record, you'd tour it for a year or so, make another record, tour it for a year or so, make a record, tour it for a year or so. And that's at that point it was fine, and it was where we were at in our lives. Now we work a little bit slower, and we make records when we feel the urge is there. When we don't feel under any particular pressure to make anything new. I think that we probably will at some point, but we're not like one of those bands who's trying to consistently hammer stuff. For us, the joy in being in the band is in playing live and meeting people and being out and doing all those things we were talking about earlier. Where it's everything together. And so we like to do a lot more of that than we do making new music. I was really ashamed when people ask us about new records. I'm always just like, we're that band. It doesn't make
That's not a bad thing though. I mean, it's a good thing that you do it when you feel, like you said, the urge to write music, like that you really want to do it.
We won't just push out a record so we can do new t-shirts and new tour and all this stuff.
Yeah, because I mean, you don't want it to be like artificial.
No, it should be. It should be special, and there's also a point like you need something to say, both musically and lyrically. And sometimes it can take a while to figure out what that is.
Yeah, and going back to what we were saying about mainstream music, I think somewhere that is also where the connection's lost too.
Yeah.
Because a lot of mainstream artists sometimes tend to just put out the albums, like you said, for new merch, for the publicity and everything. But in smaller communities like hardcore and punk rock, people care about what they're writing, and it's important things that they're talking about.
and it's also like there's also that thing about like people, when you're a band that's been a band as long as we have in the scene that we're in, people really come to the show because they want to hear the songs that they've been listening to for 10, 15, 20 years, right? And it's the same with any band in our scene. Like whenever you do a new record, it's really great if you get 2 or 3 songs that get into the live set and stay there. You know what I mean? Like permanently. Because, and I'm talking about like our scene as a collective, like from my era of playing in hardcore bands, we've all got a lot of records out and we've got a lot of songs people like. So people want to hear those, and they're not that, sometimes they're not that interested in hearing the new songs. You know what I mean? Like, they want to hear the classics, the hits, the pit fillers. So you got to give them what they want. They're gonna give you their hard-earned money and more important, their hard-earned time and attention. You got to give them what they came for, and that's and they're always fun to play too. It's always fun to play those songs. So
right,
kind of a win-win.
But I mean, like, just you can kind of hear it, like when you're listening to pop music, you can kind of hear that they were writing it to just write it to try to be famous, to try to write a hit.
That is the music industry. You know what I mean? And the industry must be making money and putting out products to sell to people.
But like, what's the fun in that?
Right.
The fun is there's a lot of people making a lot of money, right? And I don't necessarily like the idea of music being reduced to a commodity. I think it's so much more than that. But I'm also not one to judge the choices other people make, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just not what we do. Not what we do. We like to be honest. We like to be reachable. We like to be in touch with the people that like our band. We are essentially just different versions of you guys. You know what I mean? We just happen to be in a band and a few years older, but we're the same spirit. So, you know, it's this is better to me than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agree. So to kind of change the subjects a little bit, you have a personal training company called Life Weights Burn Fat. How is that working in the age of coronavirus?
So I do a lot of online coaching, and we are currently open like in person, but it's masks and big old distances. So,
Yeah.
we're fortunate that we have a lot of space, and usually like I'll wear a mask. Sometimes like I train some people in their 70s who don't because they literally can't breathe, but we're like literally like 30 feet apart. You know what I mean? Like we're so far away from each other because we have the luxury of space. And it's important for people to stay on top of their health.
Right.
So just because, you know, you want to avoid getting coronavirus, there's still the general concern of being a healthy, active, happy human being. And that requires exercise for, you know, so got to keep it going. People got to stay healthy. They got to stay moving. They got to stay strong, especially older folks, like the ones I train in their 70s. They don't have time to sit down. If they sit down for too long, they ain't going to be able to get back up again. They have to stay strong. They have to keep their muscles active. Like for them, it is almost a life or death situation. So the train keeps rolling. Fitness keeps going.
It's been interesting, like starting school again, because they've been doing gym classes where we are doing actual exercises, and it is so weird to stand in front of your computer and do 15 jumping jacks. Like
I remember the first class, like I just sat there and laughed, like just at the just super strange idea that this is what it's come to.
Yeah.
This is where we're at. You're doing jumping jacks in your living room in front of a computer screen.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's got to be tough. Like, you know, I mean, especially for you guys, because this is when you're supposed to be out hanging out with your friends, you know, meeting new friends, being at school, like, because school's about a couple of things, right? School's about getting educated, sure, but it's also about like being around other humans and interacting and
exactly like that.
To deal with bullies. I mean, and you know, and how not to be a bully. You know, all these lessons you learn there that you're not going to necessarily get in front of a computer screen. So I feel for you kids on that.
Yeah, like we made a post on Instagram. It was like, we're not going to post another interview for a few weeks as we get acclimated. So right now we're on hiatus, quote unquote. So yeah, because it is just super weird to
Yeah, like we're all figuring it out at once together. You know, it's one of the things that I said to my band when this first happened. Like I'm down to eat shit if everyone else is eating shit, and everyone else is. You know what I mean? If it was just like H2O that weren't allowed to play, if it was just me that wasn't allowed to do the things that I want to do, it would be a very different experience. But because we're all going through it together, almost globally at this point, just various different shades, it makes it a lot more bearable in a way. You know?
It's definitely been weird because there's so many, like every time I talk to somebody new, like whether it's like my family member on the phone or whatever, they're like, well, how's school going? And at this point, I don't even really know how to describe it because like it's online, it's weird, but it's definitely not the worst it could be. We're learning, but it just feels like there's like this I guess some people are saying that it's easier this way, but I feel almost more pressure this way. Because like I'm not seeing my friends at school as well to have that talk in the middle of the day and be like, how's your classes going?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, you can't just like look over to your friend sitting right next to you as the teacher's like explaining and just go, what? Like if you don't understand and try to have them like describe it to you. Because then if you try to do that on a Zoom call, everybody hears you.
It brings it back to what we were saying about hardcore shows. Like humans are meant to be face-to-face, body-to-body creatures. We're meant to be able to interact with each other up close and personal. And everything that we do is better when we do it that way. But, unfortunately, that's not an option. So we're just going to have to deal for the time being. But once again, we'll get back there. You'll be in the classroom talking smack about the teacher and throwing rubbers to the back of their head or whatever it is you guys do.
Yeah.
Well, kids, it's been awesome. I have to get out of here. I have a very frustrated little dog looking at me that needs his walk.
Sorry to your dog. Thank you for staying with us.
Thank you so much. Tell Alfie
it's been great. It's been great.
Tell Alfie we say hello.
I will. Alfie, they say hello. So I'm going to just lift his head up when he heard you.
Well, thank you so much.
Well, please let me know when this goes up, and I'll make sure that I post it up so people come check it out and all that. And you guys are the best. This is awesome. I love that you guys are doing this. This is the greatest thing.
Thank you so much. We'll send you the link.
Thank you. All right. Bye, kids.
Bye.
Bye.